Welcome to the first trading day of 2025, everyone. We're going to talk a little bit about some expectations we have here. And first of all, though, the main point of today's video is going to be about MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy might be doing something that none of us are going to like here, especially those of us that are invested like myself. So first of all, wow, look at clean spark warrants. Those are taken off. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but I got to cover MicroStrategy and what's going on here. So we know Bitcoin had a really bad month last month, and I can get rid of this line on MicroStrategy. But I think MicroStrategy may have already potentially put in the top here at 545? Is that where the peak came in? Let's zoom way in on that. It was, yeah, about 542.75. So this peak, if we scroll all the way back to 2021 and its last peak, we can see that it did a very similar thing, right? Almost exactly the same thing. We came up, made a huge spike, then we came down hard, did a couple of tops here, and then came down a little harder, a little bit below support, which is currently where we are right now, and then crawled up just to barely meet the previous highs. Not even that high there. Yeah, this high right here, the highest high after it came off of the peak. So it had the peak and then it had three highs that were all lower. The highest of the lower highs was the highest it ever got again, and that was in November 2021. So this peaked out in February 2021, and then back in November 2021 when Bitcoin was peaking, this thing was almost 50% lower than that. Oh, not 50, 30% lower than that. Okay, a little more than 30% lower than that, maybe 40, because it only got back up to $90. All right, so we're going to take this fractal out here, because look at this. This looks exactly like what just happened. So we're going to grab this fractal here, and we're going to go from here, and we're going to go to about right there. Okay, take that fractal, beautiful, and then we're going to move it all the way over here. Look at how that looks almost exactly the same. Almost exactly the same. Right, we have support down here, a little bit over here, right there, right? Support right there. There it is. That's the support I was looking for right there. We had this big spike. We came up 1, 2 times. We came down hard. And now sometime around March, maybe even later, we might come back up to 446. But unless Bitcoin does something extraordinary, we're probably not going to see it go higher again. So let's go ahead and just take this and pull it out. Let me just get it and line it up nice with the peak there. Boop, something like that. There we go. And there we have our fractal. And you can see, right? It did almost exactly the same thing. So let's go ahead and make that a little bit brighter so we can actually get a good look at it. There we go. Okay. Here we go. So yeah, we came up, came down, went up and down a couple of times. Now we're at this part right here, and it's almost following it exactly. We could even come as low as, man, we could even come lower. We can come as low as 262 here before coming right back up to this white line here at 341. And we might not ever see it go any higher than 380 again. So we might not ever see it even get back up above this area here. Let me make that darker again. Let me just turn it. We might not ever see it come back up above this bit of resistance right here, up in the 400s. We may see it only return up to 3 something. So this is what happened last time. This is exactly what happened last time. See that? Peaked early, came down, never revisited those highs, and even when Bitcoin was at its peak, which if this fractal is to be believed, could be in June, we never got any higher than this area of resistance here, just below that peak. In this case, we're looking at about 380. Okay, which from current prices, right? If this is to be believed, we could come down as low as 175, which would be an additional 40% drop, and we may only see it come up about 26 to 27%. That is very real. That is very possible. So if you own MicroStrategy and you're hoping for another big blow off top to come through, we may have already seen it. We may have already seen it. And look how that comes perfectly to my line. This line was already here when I brought that fractal over. I have not done this yet. So we started out right down in this area, right? Came up, hit the peak. We're coming down into this little piece right here. And it could come all the way down, and it taps that line with perfection. So yeah, we might be on an upswing here soon. So as soon as let me make this really light. Actually, I don't really want it to like take over my chart. I just want it kind of vaguely in the background. Okay. So once we break this line right here, we could expect this to come right back up to this white line, maybe a little higher, maybe a little bit higher, up to like 383, maybe the peak right here, 386. That might be somewhere we'd want to see. I'm going to make that yellow as a cautionary tale there. And then we could potentially see it drop right back off again, a huge amount, before we see it climb back up one more time for a, from there, that'll be pretty, there we go. From there, though, from that line, if we could catch it down at the bottom here, if it comes down here, and we were to climb it back up there, that would be a 100% gain. There's your 100%. But I don't think that, based on how MicroStrategy has traded in the past, I don't think we're going to see it return back up into the upper 500s this cycle. This might have been the peak for this cycle. Now, if Bitcoin does more than the base case that everyone's thinking of 150,000, like let's say it gets up to 200, 250,000, then that's out the window, because that is a significantly higher high, right? If Bitcoin does a significantly higher high, then yes, we might revisit this high up here at the 500s level. Unlike back here, because if we look back here, this thing peaked in February. If, as we remember, Bitcoin peaked at about 68,000 in March, which was a month later. So back, it was here, this area here, right here on the chart in March, was where Bitcoin peaked. MicroStrategy peaked a month before that, and its peak when Bitcoin peaked at 68,000, MicroStrategy was at 40% lower than that peak there. And when it hit its ultimate high, which was slightly higher, not much higher, it was still about 30 some odd percent lower than the peak. So Bitcoin needs to do a much higher price than $108,000 in order to even revisit the area of 450, let alone getting back up to 500. I think we're going to need to see a 200,000 plus Bitcoin to get higher than $500 again on MicroStrategy. So that is your warning for MicroStrategy. That goes for MSTX as well. It is likely going to have a very rough, bad time here going into the rest of the time of its trading for this cycle. Let me bring up MSTX. So MSTX, we might not see it go back above $120 again. We might not see it get above this yellow box here again. That's very possible. This one, I'm hoping to see some kind of response out of this, because this big drop here was because of the capital gains distribution. There's a huge gap down. I'm expecting to see that gap fill, get back up into the 50s, maybe even the 60s. That's what I'm expecting to see, because usually when you see a distribution like that, that gap will generally fill. So hopefully we'll see that fill, and that would be a nice little pop here from there. I mean, if you're like me, I've got 100 shares of this. I'm suffering. Now it's 43%. So we see a 43% up move if we were to just fill that gap. And then if we were to get back up, like let's say Bitcoin gets up back up to $108,000, we could expect to see this thing move almost 200% back up into the 60s. That would be nice. But I don't necessarily see it going any higher than like $115 to $120 again. So if you bought MSTX up here at 223, you're going to need Bitcoin to go way higher in order to see it return to that price. Okay. All right, let's take a look at CleanSpark warrants. Those are already down about half what they gained on the day. We're up 12% on those. That's fun. And see, it's going to do this bunching up for a while here, especially in the mornings, like right away at the open. It's going to be like that. But look, average force is going the right way. The stochastic ribbon is going the right way. If we go down to like the 2 hour, let's go to a 2 hour. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, it's all kind of pointing. Well, that one's not. Average force is still coming down. Pink on purple. That's not particularly good. I'd like to see a little more. I'd like to see it close like 15% up. Oh yeah, we're only 8% up now. So yeah, we're getting stuck here in some badness. I really want to see this line right here break. This yellow dotted line right there. I want to see that break, and then we can move ourselves back up to about $1 once that happens. Bit Digital is doing good. So we're in the month of Ethereum now, actually. So if we go down here, let's look at Bitcoin. First of all, Bitcoin is, so it closed the month of December below that blue line. Let me turn off my drawings. No, I can't turn off my drawings. Let me make this less prominent then. Let me just get it really, really light. All right, there we go. Okay. Bitcoin closed the month below that blue line, just below that blue line. Technically still on that blue line, and opened it just below that blue line and pushed up above it just now. So that's good. So if we can hold this area here, this could end up being a flag, and we could drive it up to as high as $110,000 off of that. What just happened to my screen? So Bitcoin can go up to $110,000 if it stays above this blue line at $94,000. That's great. If it breaks this line, right? If we get above this line here, $110,052, then we're opened up to $175,000. We get up to $175,000. I still don't think MicroStrategy is going to get back up to that 500 level, but potentially into the 400s we could see there pretty easily. Let's take a look. It's the time of Ethereum though. So we're looking at, it's the time of Ethereum. So Ethereum has a good month in January, February, March, April, May. Those are all pretty much good months for Ethereum. So Ethereum, let's see what we are looking at here. This is the monthly. Let's go ahead and draw a fib on Ethereum. So Ethereum needs to take out this peak here from November 2021. That's going to be $4,911, right? It needs to get above that. Once it's above that, then we're opened up to 6,000. It gets above 6,737, then we're open up to 7,865. And if it gets above 7,865, then we're open up to $12,000 potentially based on the Fibonacci levels. So right now we closed the month above 3,085. Look at that. We closed it above that. We did a nice closure here above that. We are currently, let me lock this down so I don't move it around. We are currently on this month, we opened up separated from that line. So we are actually in a position where we could hit the previous all-time high of Ethereum again this month. That's a possibility. And if we do that, you better believe Bit Digital is going to be having a very, very good time. Yeah, so as long as this thing holds and we don't lose this line here, let's see, as long as we don't lose about 3,300 right now in the next couple of days early on in this month, as long as we don't lose that level, and if we can gain this level up here, 3,800, and take out these highs here, we could potentially see this thing become a rocket up to the previous all-time highs. Now, right now we're forming something of a bear flag. I don't like this formation right here. I don't want to see it go any lower than 3,300. We see it any lower than 3,300, we're going to base out down here at 3,000. We're going to come right back down to this line and dance on that line a little bit, because notice how we just tapped it and then going back up again. Now we didn't. Now before doing that, we did come down to the 618. We did almost touch the 786, which is an institutional buy zone. We almost tapped that, and then we started heading back up. So I am looking for Ethereum. This is looking a bit like a head and shoulders right here, which would base down at 2,500, right here, shoulder, head, another shoulder, and that would take us all the way back down here, and that would suck. That would suck really bad. So we need to hold. We need to hold 3,000. It cannot go any lower than that $3,000 level. 3,300 is also a marker where it will drop to 3,000. But we are opened up now. Since we opened the month above this this fib level, we are opened up to return to the previous all-time high for Ethereum, which would be a move up of potentially 42%, which would be huge for stocks like Bit Digital. Can-An is starting to come back here. Let's take a look at that. Can-An, no, this is still flagging. It's still flagging. It's got to get above 235 here. It's got to get above 235, preferably above 240 before I'd be feeling good about this. This is looking like a bear flag. This could easily break right back down as long as Bitcoin, if Bitcoin does. Let's take a look at, do we want to look at CleanSpark today? Let's take a look at Bit Digital. Bit Digital's up 8% as well. Bit Digital really, really needs to get up and above this dotted line right here. Let's take a look here. How bad is it? How bad is it, Doc? It's not good. We got to get above the 200 at 321, and then the 21 at 365, and again the 50 up here, that orange one, up above 383. So until we're above 383, honestly, Bit Digital is still in a rough patch and is doing kind of what I would expect Ethereum to potentially do if it went bad already. So it's kind of doing the expectation of, oh, if Ethereum falls, then it would fall down to this about, support, which is where Bit Digital is. But if Ethereum rockets up, we could see this win recover real nicely here. Mara is actually having a nice recovery here. I did some tax loss harvesting on my Mara before the end of the year, but this is looking like it might be ready to go again here soon. Let me go ahead and draw this line right here. Yeah, once it breaks that line, it's going to come up to the 200. I'd be looking 1980. Above 1980, I'm looking to go long on Mara again. Right now, I'm not looking to go long on Mara. I need to see this slow stochastic stop being quite nasty there, and then I'd be looking for it. Is there anything else we wanted to cover today? I think that was pretty much the focus. MicroStrategy, keep an eye out for that. We may have already completely peaked on MicroStrategy unless Bitcoin gives us like a serious move up from where it currently is. And that is the main takeaway today. Be cautious of that. We're getting some good moves out of the miners today. That's pretty good. That's great. January, February, March, April, those are going to be months we're looking for miners to outperform Bitcoin here as we slip into alt season. So watch for that. MicroStrategy may underperform this month. It might go up a bit, but it will underperform the miners, I think, potentially in January, February time period. And of course, nothing I say is financial advice or a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. But with that said, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video. Check out the Trade Cave store, link in the description, as well as the channel bio, and have a profitable day.